this morning, sunshine through the clouds, feeling the healing, laughter all around. Rise up and stand tall, joy in every stride. No more tears to fall, let your spirit guide. Blessed girl summer, shining through the night. Brighter than thunder, you're the morning light. Life keeps on spinning, hold on to your dreams. You're always winning, more than it seems.
Hey, everybody, welcome to Blessed Girl Summer Podcast. My name is Tisha, and I'm super excited that you're here today. This is a space where we live, learn, love, and grow. And we are serious here about our soul care. We're serious here about our mental health. We're serious here about our self care. And we are determined to walk in a place of peace, right? Peace and cultivating joy in our lives. And so I wanted to talk a little bit today. I know that some of you who have been with me for a while, you know that I am currently in my master's program for marriage and family therapy. I am a second time grad student. This is my second master's, but I really wanted to talk about what that journey has been like. So I'm doing this vlog, so to speak, about my experience. And I'm going to start with why I decided to go into marriage and family therapy, but also talk a little bit about the process. Because I know for me, as I was researching, trying to determine whether or not this was something I wanted to do, it was difficult to find a lot of information specifically about becoming a licensed marriage and family therapist, which is what the MFT stands for, as opposed to maybe another type of therapist. And then LMFT of the color is we are definitely in the minority. And so I figured because I am embroaching on this journey, or I'm actually in this journey, I can share some of my experience so far. So, why did I decide to become a marriage and family therapist? Well, when I was in high school, I wanted to be a psychologist. I wanted to be a psychologist at that time. Yeah, that was back in the 90s. At that time in the 90s, there wasn't much, I didn't know much about like therapy or the different types of therapists or anything like that. I don't even think I really understood like if you needed to have a doctorate or anything. I didn't understand anything like that. I just knew that it was a place that you can go and you can sort through your issues. And so I had always been told that people gravitated to me. I had, even as a young person, I had been put in like positions of leadership, like youth leaders and things like that. And then my peers would come to me a lot of times and ask me like different questions. And people would say like, "Oh, you're my conscious." Like, so I've always been one where people have felt like they could come and talk to me and kind of get some sound advice or just some um, sound, wisdom. And I've definitely always been analytical. I've always been an analytical person. Kind of want to know why. Like, why did they do that? But like, why? Like, that's always been my thing. So, long story short, I did initially go to school to be a psychologist. And my second year of college, I got pregnant. And then shortly thereafter, after I had my daughter, then I got married. And then things began to change. Like college wasn't on the trajectory anymore. It was about working and getting, surviving, paying the bills, putting diapers on the baby. And then I kept popping out babies, right? So it really just changed the trajectory. And then that just became like a distant memory. And when I was able to go back to school, so much life had passed. By that time, I was divorced, did a little time being a single parent, and then remarried. Um, and so, still, the focus, now I had a bigger family, more responsibilities, and the focus was still more on taking care, financially taking care of the household. And so my thought process at the time was, okay, well, what makes sense? What makes sense? And listen, so I did when I went back to school, I was like, "Oh, okay, well, I have a lot of credits in this area. Where can I get my quickest degree?" So social work came up. I was like, "Oh, maybe I could do social work." But I had a limited understanding of what social workers could do. I definitely did not know that you could be a licensed clinical social worker and be a therapist and have your own practice. I did not know that. I just thought in my mind, social worker, you are going to people's houses and dealing with in our area it was called DIFUS, and so that's Division of Family Youth Services. So basically, when people were neglecting their children, you would be the one showing up on their doorstep. And at that time, that was in the 2000s. At that time, it was such a bad rap. There were so many horror stories about neglected kids and social workers that were overworked or burnt out, that had missed signs, and kids being, it was just like, ah. And then when I researched how much they get paid, I was making more money. So my mind was like, why would I go to school for that? Why would I go to school for that to make less money, you know? And so the next best thing I felt was let me focus on what I'm currently doing and how can I increase that? How can I just move up in the space that I'm in? So I decided to go for my bachelor's in business administration. So I did that. And then when I went back for my master's, I went initially for my MBA, and I was going to get my finance, um, get an MBA. And so that I was trying to get a position as a budget manager. And I felt like if I have an MBA, you can't deny me for this. And so I basically went back to this master's program, not necessarily because I wanted to get my MBA, but because I felt like that's the next step that I needed to do to get a promotion or to make some more money, and actually to prove some points to some folks um, who were in leadership that were not helping me, um, helping me elevate or be promoted. Well, I did that for a year, and I actually did well in those classes, but I did not like it. I did not like it, and I happened to take this course called Organizational Behavior, and I loved it. It was really about people. Like, organizations are made up of people. As much as they have structure, as much as they are, can look like an institution or a company or something like that, those companies and institutions are ran by people. People make up that organization. And so organizational behavior is really understanding how is the organism functioning? How are the people functioning, and what type of cultures are being created and norms and things of that nature. But it still was about relating to people, being able to understand people, being able to understand their behavior and how that behavior creates culture and blah, blah, blah. And so that had a little bit of sociology in it, right? But I loved it. And I didn't really make the connection about it being about people, behaviors, how they interact. I didn't make that connection. I just knew I loved it. So then I decided I'm not going to get my MBA. I'm going to just get a master's in organizational leadership, which I did and love that. But I think that the thing that I really loved about it was that behavioral people piece, right? That analytical piece where you're kind of understanding how things are created and why they're functioning the way that they're functioning, right? So marriage and family therapy is a systemic approach to therapy, which means that we're also focusing on the interrelated, connected relationships and how those relationships have also influenced your behavior, who you are, how you move, the things that you might be experiencing, and also maybe possible solutions, right? So um, it very much ties, even though I didn't realize it tied. So fast, I mean, fast forward. So I decided to, go into marriage and family therapy. That was a big step for me because, again, my reasoning part of my brain was like, why would you go back for another master's when you can actually get a doctorate? It's like, that makes sense. Now you have to explain to all these folks why you are going back to school and changing careers at 40 something years old, as opposed to just building upon what you already have. But my heart wasn't in that. Like, I love leadership. I love, but I love the nature of leadership, right? And I teach about leadership. I teach, at universities and things about that. So I do love that. But that wasn't, I really wanted to go deeper and help people understand why they're doing certain things, um, affect change for themselves, be healthier, and live fuller and wholer lives. And even as I was growing, having experienced so many things, I was coming to a place in my life where I was just like, I even want that for myself. Like, I am moving in a place of peace. I want to learn how to navigate the stresses and the things of life. And I still want to be able to maintain my sense of wholeness and healing and purpose and all these things, and have not feel stunted, all the time, not feel stuck, and just really understand where those things come from. And so, um, and I had started my own personal therapy journey. I had been at that point, I think I had been in therapy for about 2.5 years. And there was so much growth and so much um revelation that had taken place that really helped me value therapy in a new way. So I always had a love for it. I always respected people in the position. I had a lot of associates that are therapists, and we always have great conversations, and just so I always really respected what they did. I just felt like I had waited too long. Like, I felt like I had missed my opportunity. And so now I just need to roll with the punches and do the thing that made sense. But then as I began to get some healing, as I began to recognize what things were actually my desires versus things that I learned, things that I kind of felt that were expected of me, um, and my own like people pleasing to the point where I was really concerned with how other people looked at my decisions. And I always wanted my decision to look right in the eyes of others. And so a lot of that meant that I would make decisions that other people felt were right that weren't necessarily what I wanted. I was willing um to forego my desires or wants because I felt like pleasing the people who I thought were like authority or wisdom, pleasing them was more important. And so as I began to kind of work through that and really begin to align myself with the things that I feel called to and in the circles that I was still showing up in, because I have had women's groups, I've had couples groups, we've done coaching, I do coaching. All these things are still kind of moving in that space. But I was afraid to take that particular leap and going back to school, really because I didn't think I was going to get the support. And so, and I thought people was going to be like, she don't know what she doing. Woman, this girl done got a bachelor's, a master's, now another master's. What is she doing? Right. So, um, so then, but I could not deny the impact that therapy was having on me, and I wanted that for others. And so, so I did it. Okay. So that was a long story. I feel like I spent 13 minutes or so giving y'all the backdrop. So I think that's important to share because it was very I had a fearful component behind it. And so it was very private and quiet to me. And I shared it with some people, but I didn't share it with a lot of people. And I only shared it with the people that I thought would get it and the people that I thought would support it. And so that is something that you may want to consider if you're thinking about and you're um, we're a little bit more aged or seasoned and you want to go back to school, like really protecting your heart, protecting your dreams, protecting your desires um, from the voices of other folks that may not see it. And they don't have to see it. Guess what? They don't have to see it. It's not for them to see, it's for you to know. And it's so important that we don't just know, but we actually do. And sometimes what will help us do is if we guard it and we keep it in a place where it's safe enough for us to move forward until we get the confidence and we get the strength to share with other folks. So that's what I did. And um, so I asked my therapist, I'm like, what school did you go to? What was the process like? Like, I had a lot of conversations with folks about what their experience was like, right? And in that, in asking them what their experience was like, um, I decided to go to Capella University. That's the school that I'm in. And it was online school. Some people are not here for online. I'm here for online. I'm an online girl. My other master's was online. Um, and so it just works for me in my life. And um, so I did that, and I went through the process. I had to support my husband, my therapist, a couple of friends, and I went for it. Um, so the application process was um, like a regular application process. I don't remember all the details, but it wasn't anything like outrageous. I had to get my transcripts from my previous schools. I had to write an essay about. There was like prompt questions that they had. I cannot remember what they were about, but I'm pretty sure it was kind of like, why do I want to go into marriage and family therapy? Like, how would I plan on utilizing um, this degree? Um, because therapy is very much serving of the community, and so trying to get an idea of how I would do that. And so I did all had submitted all my stuff, got through all the different like steps of the application, submitted my essay, y'all. Listen, I had been a minute since I had written a paper. It had been like 5 years. So I wrote my paper and I was kind of like, I think I was lackadaisic with it. I was just real surfacey, and just kind of just like, giving them the business, just doing the paper. Child, why they sent that thing back to me? They were like, the people reviewing it were like a little bit more depth. They would like you to go a little bit deeper into, I was like, oh, that was when I realized, girl, you better wake up. You in school, and you're gonna have to pull a little bit to make this impactful. And the thing about me is I only need to, I don't want to say fail, but I only need to get like corrected like one time about something. And baby girl not doing that no more, right? So it was a stretch. It stretched me in the beginning, which I appreciate, because going forward after that, like my papers have been really good. So, and it also required me, which I didn't know, it should have been a sign, also required me to be more introspective. And I wasn't used to that. And so I rewrote it. They accepted it, and then I got accepted. And the program that I'm in starts every month. They have a start date, so I was able to get in the following month. I had did my financial aid and all that stuff. And so the application process was pretty smooth. Trying to think of what happened after that. So I was registered for. I got an advisor. There was, I think, a really great online community, like a lot of resources online, a lot of videos, a lot of steps along the way, a lot of people reaching out to you at different stages. to really like just show you that you were supported. And so I really appreciated that too. Having worked for several online universities, I believe that they do a really good job of offering student support. Um, and super excited about it. And that first course was a lot. And I didn't even take, so now I take two courses a quarter. And one quarter, I'm going to be taking three. Just only one. I know some folks that take three courses. I don't know how they do it, and they're still working. I don't understand, but they get it done. For me, I cannot multitask as much as I used to be able to. And so I kind of have to focus on what it is that I'm doing. And I can't have like 550 things going on. And it's also important for me to really grasp the information. The way that I'm able to write good papers and to do that is because I have a good understanding. And I need to be able to focus to have a good understanding. So, what I knew right away that I needed to do is I had to clear some things off of my schedule. Some things that I was doing, I had to say, look, I got to take a break from these things. I can only do like two additional things. Um and the things that I did stick with still kind of align with therapy, so to speak. So there were a lot of things that I had to take off of my plate, a lot of like organizations and things that I was involved in, I had to like bow out because it was just in a different, it might have been more business focused, or maybe more leadership focused. And I just couldn't, I felt like it was just using two different sides of my brain. And therapy, at least this program it has a really self-reflective, introspective part to it. And has that can present as challenges for me. And so I really, really needed to be present in order to really grasp it and to do well. And so I let go of a lot of things, only kept, we kept our couples group that meets. We saw maybe one like premarital coaching client. We weren't like we don't really advertise that much because we knew we can't take on a lot of clients. um we stopped the TV show. At one point we had a TV show. We stopped the TV show. And then I also had stopped my old podcast, um, which I'm now doing this one. But I had to stop a lot of stuff because I had to really focus. That first class was a foundations class and it was a lot. I learned a lot. Also felt very overwhelmed with all of the information. So I'm glad that my first quarter, I didn't take two classes, I only took one. Um, and I think that that was really helpful in helping me get some of the foundations because in that first class, we talked about a lot of modules, a lot of theories, and an understanding of where marriage and family therapy came from, and also how marriage and family is different. It's different in its approach. It is a systemic approach, right? It is not linear. And so we're not linear in our thinking, meaning we don't believe that A causes B. We believe that A causes B, and then B may have caused C, and then C. So how does C interact with A to cause A to come back to B? So it's systemic. It's not like a straight line in thinking. And that was like it made sense, but it took a minute to really like grasp it and understand it. And so I then had to, and I needed time. I needed to clear my headspace from all the other stuff, and I needed time. And so, in the other thing that I did, I was still teaching leadership, but even that I backed down a little bit from because um, that was time consuming as well, and it was on a different spectrum. So I didn't really start picking that back up until like the second semester. I wanted the second quarter. I wanted to give myself a lot of time to just really focus and get adjusted to being back in school, writing papers, reading because I'm an Audible girl. And so now it's like a lot of reading and studying and remembering, and then papers on top of that and deadlines. And I just really wanted to be able to adjust well to this difference. And so, if I could give you any advice, if you're thinking about starting school and you're like in the application process, well, one would be to make sure that you understand what your state's requirements are and that you're in a program that meets your state's requirements. So, the state that I live in is North Carolina. And in order to be a licensed marriage and family therapist, you have to attend a AMFTE accredited program. And so there's some people, or one person in my um, program who has a marriage and family therapy license, but because of the state that he lives in, the program was not accredited by an authority that the state recognized. So he has a whole master's in that, and he has to go through this whole program again just to be just to be able to actually be licensed in his state. So that is really important. You want to make sure that you understand what your state requires and that this program meets those state requirements. And that's a lot that happens in that first class, right? They are really talking about the foundation, showing you what the difference is because the licenses are different by state. So we all have the same code of ethics that we abide by. Um, it's called AAMFT Code of Ethics, and that's an organization that majority of marriage and family therapy therapists are associated with, right? But the states, the boards of each state has different regulations. And so you have to be able to meet both of those regulations. And the only way you're going to be able to do that is to know that. So I could be in a program with someone out of state, another state, and they may not have to have as many hours as I need to have, right? It just depends on the state. So that's why I'm not going to get into like um the specific details because depending upon who's listening to this, your state will be different. I will just briefly overview what I have to do for my program. I have to have 72 credit hours and I have to have a year of clinical internship. And what I'll just briefly go over it with you. So 72 credit hours are the actual courses and the internship combined in order to graduate. Once I graduate, I then have to pass the state exam to get licensed. So I can graduate and have a master's in marriage and family therapy, but I will not be licensed until I pass the licensure exam. Once I pass that exam, I then have to acquire 1,500 clinical hours. Now, again, this is for my state. Clinical hours meaning in session, seeing clients um, before I can become fully licensed. So when I pass my licensure exam, I get an LMFTA. I am a licensed marriage, family, and therapy associate. So I am able to practice therapy under a licensed marriage and family therapist. Okay. And then after I complete those 1,500 clinical hours, then I can apply for my license, my full license. Once I get my full license, I can then open up my own practice or, work someplace else, but I am fully licensed and I don't have to be under supervision. So there's a lot of steps there. Now, if I back up, because I missed a little step, a part of my particular program, um, I need to earn 300 clinical hours before I can actually graduate. And so that is where my internship comes in. There is a year that I intern at a clinic as a therapist under a licensed marriage and family therapist. But I'm an intern, right? I'm not licensed. Um, I'm an intern. I'm learning. I'm working and learning at the same time. So there are those things. Then, as you're considering moving into this direction, You also want to, for me, because my program was online, there are some in-person hours that have to happen, right? And we call it residency. Some people call it practicum, right? Where you actually sit down with your professors and you do like mock sessions, you learn clinical skills, you put the modalities and the theories into use, and um, you practice so that when you go into your internship, you have an idea of what you're doing. You're not just there, right? It's not just all book or academic knowledge. You've actually had some practical opportunities to exercise these things, these skills that you have learned. And so for me with Capella, because it's an online university, that means that I have to travel to the different locations to have a residency, and that is typically about a week. And so far, I've done residency track one, which I'll talk about on another episode. That was in Florida. And then my residency track number two is coming up, and that's going to be in Kentucky. And so as a student, I'm responsible for my travel to get there. When I get there, my travel and my lodging. When I get there, the university takes care of everything else, just about. So those are things that you have to also consider, whether you're getting financial aid or you're paying out of pocket. You have to consider those additional expenses in addition to whatever tuition is costing. Since we're talking about expenses, another expense is when you're interning for that year and you have to get those 300 hours. The internships typically are not paid. Like, very rarely will you find a paid internship. So you're working for that company, you're seeing clients, and you're not getting paid for that. But you are getting paid in a way, right? You are getting paid with experience. You are getting paid with knowledge. You are getting paid with growing and strengthening your skills and your skill set. So, what I do love about the program is that even though somebody can look at that as a con, I kind of look at it as a pro, because now you're not just being thrown out there, right? You're not just getting someone who says, okay, I took these classes and now I'm here and I'm going to be this therapist. You're getting insight from other clinicians, right? You're learning, you're getting critiqued, your skills are being enhanced, you're getting challenged, right? You're dealing with your own stuff, how you're going to filter and work through things. And so it really allows you to not just graduate and get a license and be put out there, but you graduate, get a license, and you're experienced. So you're gaining experience, a year of experience, right? Which I really, really love about that. Now, the other thing where it comes to, which, can, again, some people can look at as a con, but I understand the thought process and why this is so, is that when you get your license, remember, you're not fully licensed, you're an associate. And so you still have to be under supervision for those 1,500 hours, right? And that can be anywhere from a year to a year and a half, depending upon how, many clients you see. Well, as an licensed marriage, family, and therapist associate, you're going to get paid less money, because that's like your entry level. So you're already getting paid less money. And typically, if you're working for a clinic and they provide supervision as a part of working there, because remember, you got to be under a supervisor, you're definitely going to get paid less, because that is another service that they're giving you. Now, if you're not getting supervision um, from that facility, you have to pay for a supervisor. You have to be getting supervision. You cannot just be seeing clients. You have to be getting supervision for those 1,500 hours. And so there is a possibility, a really good possibility, that you will be paying someone. And so in addition to not really getting paid what the average, what would a fully licensed marriage and family therapist would get paid, you also have to pay for additional supervision. So that can be looked at as a con. Um, does it make my spirit feel good? my soul feel good. But what it does do is ensure that you are actually learning, and supervision is important. I feel like even after you become a fully licensed therapist, you still want to be getting some type of supervision because there is no one situation or scenario or client is the same. And there are going to be things that you're just going to need counsel on. You're going to need advice on. You're going to need, and so it is very, I think it strengthens you as a clinician to have those almost two years or 2.5 years of supervision from someone who's been in this space longer than you. I think it's just so important, right? And so um yeah, it's really about helping make sure that our clients are safe, right? And that we're not causing anyone harm. And so those are things that the board has deemed necessary to make sure that we uphold certain ethics, that we are serving our clients well. And so I get it. I get it. I signed up for it and I'm gonna do it. But then once you get past all of those things and you're fully licensed, now you can really, the sky is the limit. Okay. There are so many things that you can do. You can continue on, get your doctorates, and then maybe, teach. But then there are some teaching at a college level, higher education level. There are some positions that you don't need your doctorate for, and you can teach with your master's level. There, you can do advocacy, you can do consulting, you can do so many different things. You can open your own practice. You can, work at like a clinic. You can work at a group practice. You can do like workshops. You can have speaking engagements. You can do so many things, right? And so the sky really becomes a limit at that point. So if you weigh out like the sacrifices that you have to make up front, typically I think that they're worthy sacrifices, right? They really help shape you and make you into a great clinician. Um, and you want to be a great clinician, or all the other things aren't going to work either, right? How are you going to be teaching somebody you're not good at what you do? How are you going to be speaking places? How are you going to be consulting people? How are you going to have a thriving practice? How are you going to maintain a position? Right. So all those things are really, really important. And so, yep, that's just my spill. I promise I won't make this too long because I have other parts that I have to share with you. So, all right, guys, if you want some more information about my journey or about my other podcast episodes and the things that I talk to and the guests that I have on, be sure to subscribe, share, and like. And I'll see y'all next time. Remember to stay well.
Woke up this morning, sunshine through the clouds, feeling the healing, laughter all around. Rise up and stand tall, joy in every stride. No more tears to fall, let your spirit guide. Blessed go summer, shining through the night. Brighter than thunder, you're the morning light. Life keeps on spinning, hold on to your dreams. You're always winning, more than it seems. Hear the drums calling, dancing to the dawn. Keep on believing, strength in every song. Blessed go summer, shining through the night. Brighter than thunder, you're the morning light. Life keeps on spinning, hold on to your dreams. You're always winning, more than it seems. Hear the drums calling, dancing to the dawn. Keep on believing, strength in every song. Blessed go summer, shining through the night. Brighter than thunder, you're the morning light. Life keeps on spinning, hold on to your dreams. You're always winning, more than it seems.